So I'm not sure if anybody else happened to hear about this, but Donald Trump was recently convicted on 34 counts of something. What that something is, we're not quite sure. No one really seems to know. Not the media, not the wider public. Also, neither the judge nor the jury seem to be aware of what it is, but very importantly, whatever it is, he is very definitely guilty. If you do actually want a helpful breakdown of this, Matt Walsh probably did the best one, the most useful analysis for normies. And what it basically comes down to is that he may have incorrectly registered how he paid a fee to his lawyers in such a way that it resulted in him paying too much tax, which is something we know the government absolutely hates. Now, I am sure that my American audience, and probably my audience in general, don't really want to hear from an Irishman pontificating about US politics, and I won't pretend to be the voice on that. There are a great many other people out there who will do that very well. But all of this got me thinking about a recent call that we had with our potential contributors for Clear Truth, for which I'm editor-in-chief. Check us out on all social media platforms and also cleartruthmedia.com, coming up very soon, launching on the 1st of July. Very exciting. Anyway, we were chatting about the purpose behind what we're doing, and a whole bunch of people said yes and came on a call, right? And it ended up being a kind of who's who of based Christians, which was really fun. And we were joking around saying, you know what, we need to record this because eventually they'll want to use it in evidence against us whenever we get carted off to the gulags under the orders of President Ocasio-Cortez. They will want to see this, so we did record it. It will be a fun gulag. We will pray imprecatory psalms in between waterboarding sessions. I'm looking forward to that. Speaking of waterboarding, actually, this probably won't make the cut, but nonetheless, I find waterboarding to be a very interesting term because when you first hear it, it kind of sounds fun. Like it sounds like a variation of surfing. If a friend said, do you want to come waterboarding with me tomorrow? You'd be like, yeah, sure, that sounds good. What do I need to bring? Just a towel. Wow. Anyway, all that to say, whilst we were saying these things largely in jest, there is a disturbing trend of political prisoners being incarcerated by the left. That is actually genuinely a thing that is happening and is likely to continue and increase, particularly if they stay in power. And there are some lessons that we as Christians are going to have to learn about how political persecution works if we're going to be able to discern whether or not the justice system is in fact just. So let me give 4 examples and 4 lessons, and we'll start with Trump. Now, Trump was tried by a district judge in one of the most liberal districts in the country by a jury that almost certainly hated him. This was not some sort of neutral panel of people that had never heard of Trump and had no opinions on him. The prosecution was carried out by an attorney general who had campaigned on getting Trump a sort of Lavrenti Beria, show me the man and I'll show you the crime kind of thing. Historically, Beria has been considered to be one of the most evil men in history, but Bragg apparently viewed him as a role model, so that's interesting. The judge had donated to the Biden campaign, and the judge's daughter had raised over $90 million for Democratic candidates off the back of this. So, slight conflict of interest there. Now let me make point 1 here, right? I don't think Trump is a particularly upright character. I don't think he's a Christian. I think he's pretty liberal on a few issues. And you can make the case that he wasn't the right choice for the Republican Party as the candidate. I say that speaking as an outsider. Obviously, now that it's a binary choice, he is the better option. But he's not pure as the driven snow. I don't think anyone really thinks that. However, what that doesn't mean is that he is a criminal. The fact that you maybe don't like him, if you don't like him and you're watching this, also doesn't mean that he should be locked in jail. And it doesn't mean that this isn't political persecution. You see, when it comes to political persecution, one of the things they do is they look for the most divisive characters first. And that's what's been done here, and that's lesson 1. Just because they persecute a quote-unquote bad person doesn't make it not persecution. Does that make sense? That's a double negative. Anyway, just because they're a bad person doesn't mean they aren't being persecuted. They can be persecuted even if you're a bad person. And of course, they will engage in plenty of character assassination and smear jobs to make them appear bad. So we need to watch out for that. Let's take another example, right? How about Julian Assange? Julian Assange was the founder of WikiLeaks, and once again, divisive character, once again, not a Christian, probably had some personal issues, but he has been persecuted across the globe for years. He had to hide in the Ecuadorian embassy in London for years in a little small room. He is currently in jail in Britain, and America are attempting to prosecute him. Now, What are they prosecuting him for? Well, you see, this man, he ran a website. Oof, terrible thing. Now, a crime website, I hear you say, right? It's drugs, arms, hiring out hitmen, something like that. Not quite, possibly worse, you could say. He released documents that were embarrassing to people in power and perhaps ran counter to some of the prevailing narratives of our day. And he let people publish them. Oh, so he stole the document. Nope, didn't steal them. He wasn't engaged in the stealing. Oh, so they were false documents. No, true documents. But he did publish these true things that some people didn't like. Now, we do have a historic term for publishing documents like this, and it's called journalism. A very wicked and terrible act, except when the right people do it, like an approved newspaper, and do it in the right way, where they affirm the approved narratives. If they do it, that's bold, that's courageous. If anybody else does it though, that's sedition, that's treason. And of course, if there's actual espionage carried out, say by the Obama presidency against the Trump campaign, using the CIA to do so, and they use that to spread the Trump-Russia collusion conspiracy, which has turned out to be completely false, that is fine. That is the sort of good kind of espionage that's permitted. All of which brings us to lesson 2, which is that if there are different standards for different people doing the same thing, it is not justice. In a society where we see actual criminals let off, where rapists and thieves walk free, but people who oppose the narrative and oppose the regime are tortured in jail, that is wicked, that is an unjust system. Okay, example 3. Sam Melia. Sam Melia is a British man who committed the abhorrent crime of stickering. Now, what is stickering? Well, stickering, you see, is an ancient Celtic form of torture punishment where those considered to be vulnerable, wrong, outsiders, whatever it might be, can be attacked by a large Englishman with a sharp stick, and he pokes them and prods them until they, run away or die or flee or whatever the case may be. Actually, no, sorry, it's not that at all. It is posting stickers. You're definitely not allowed to post stickers in the UK. Now, what was on said stickers? Well, a lot of the stuff was stuff that the prosecution said was true, but that importantly is not a defence. Some of them were anti-Jewish, not a fan of that. Also did have a poster of Hitler in his house, so again, not a defence of the guy as a whole, let's be honest, right? But please refer to lesson 1 if you've forgotten that already. But what has happened to him? Well, what has happened to him is he is in a cell 22 hours a day. He is not allowed to have his children visit him, and he is not allowed to get updates from his wife on how his children are doing. Now, this man does hold some wrong beliefs, he really does. But again, repeat lesson 2 if you've forgotten that one. He has the wrong beliefs. If he went out in a Che Guevara t-shirt, a nice Joseph Stalin hat, maybe a Chairman Mao poncho, and read aloud from the Communist Manifesto, he wouldn't be put in jail. He would be put in charge of a university, maybe Downing Street, maybe running the BBC. However, because he holds the wrong ideology, he's not only in jail, but he's receiving genuinely cruel and unusual punishment. This man didn't threaten anyone. He didn't hit anyone. And similarly, you've got Muslim gangs going around saying way worse, chanting "kill the Jews," and they were not even prosecuted. You've got innumerable cases of people who have committed sexual assault and serious other forms of assault and have been spared jail entirely. But this guy is punished in the most egregious way possible. And that's lesson 3. Unjust systems have unjust punishments that do not fit the crime. And part of the reason they do so is to make an example of people and to make that crime appear worse than it is. Those punishments are saved for those who oppose the political establishment, and that is the worst crime that you can commit in this system. And finally, very briefly, example 4. Just look at this woman. Just see the malice. You can see the contempt. You can see the bloodthirsty look in this eyes. Also, she's a sweet old grandmother. Who is she? Well, she is the 75-year-old Paulette Harlow, and she committed the heinous act of standing and praying outside an abortion clinic in Washington, D.C. How dare she? Now, she has been in poor health, but that is no excuse for praying in public, particularly where there's important murders to be carried out. Doesn't matter. And she has been jailed for 2 years, and her husband is worried about her dying in jail. And this brings us to the very short and simple lesson 4, which is this. It doesn't actually matter if you're a good person and you haven't done anything that any reasonable society would consider to be criminal. Eventually they will come for you too. These laws are being rolled out across the West. They are targeting faithful Christians quietly praying, and it's not going to stop there. So there you go. That's a bright, sunny, cheerful message for you today. Get ready for some wild times in the Western world. Don't believe what you're told. Understand what real justice is. If you were in 2020 a no justice, no peace Christian, then we have some actual justice issues for you to sink your teeth into. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, don't smash the like button. Press it normally. As we always say, it doesn't make a lick of difference how you press the button. Just press it. Support the channel through wearecontramundum.com. Go to Clear Truth Media, for which I am editor-in-chief. I think I said that earlier. I did say that earlier. I did a good job. Thank you, everybody. And if you're on YouTube and you want to watch another video, here it is.